Great clarity, being out in the honeysuckle and watching up and watching out.
Good evening, Earth. This is Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Ranch in Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting nurture. Alright, tonight I want to give a little bit of the blue-green cast coming from the sky, start developing it, reflecting onto the skin of the primary figure. So I've mixed up a very light phthalo blue, phthalo green, and white mixture, mostly phthalo green, and I'm just going to lighten the skin along the edges where the sun will be sort of draping over it. So here we go.
And that really changed the direction of my entire life research. I had some knack of chemistry, and I was quite interested in things that were psychoactive. I delved around in the library for this, but never did not know psychedelics before. And that was my very first introduction. And so, you have 3, 4, 5 trimethoxy over here to work where you want. Methoxy is 2 carbon chain, and the main group on this end, and that's the simplicity of the molecule. Not a very potent thing, it took a few hundred milligrams to do the job. But the job is fascinating because the job is entirely from me, not to me, but out of me. So I said, well, by golly, what can you do there? So I said, well, there's a alpha position there, and I can put a methyl group on there. And this is where chemistry on a blackboard is such fun. And people say, well, it's easy on a blackboard, but you go to the laboratory, then you can't just go and take a little nail and a hammer and take a methyl group and clap a methyl group on the side of the chain. I mean, you don't do that quite that way. On a blackboard, if all chemistry were blackboard, erasers, and chalk would be simple, you could make any molecule in about 20 seconds. But the truth is, making molecules to jive with the structure is not that much more difficult. You have to think from a different point of view, but it's all there. So I went to the laboratory and I made the methyl group down that position, which is the amphetamine chain, carbon, 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 down at the amine group, the amphetamine. And to make that into nitrothane, you have to have those nitrothane, so I coupled the corresponding trimethoxy. Now, don't worry about this, it's all in the book somewhere. Trimethoxy is out of hydrogennitrothane, which is from hydroactive there was the corresponding amphetamine. Trimethoxy amphetamine is called TMH. So I looked into the chemical literature. It had been synthesized by a group of people in Canada about 3 years earlier, and they had said it had an interesting property. If you're watching what's this wheel that whirls around and gives you color? Kaleidoscope. Good. Watch a kaleidoscope and it generates colors. The colors are more intense if you take this compound first. Well, I didn't really want to play with a kaleidoscope, but I appreciate the fact that colors. And so I made the compound. If you go together twice what they use, you get into a psychedelic place. Now, it's not merely a mescaline, but a different thing. But meanwhile, while I was preparing that compound, I said, well, nitroethane, nitropropane, nitrobutane, I got all the nitroalkanes I had, because the one carbon that indeed makes us inward different things. Does that 2, does that 3, does that 4, does that 5? So I synthesized about 8 or 9 compounds, all with different size chains hanging down there. And by the time I had gotten the others made out here, the first one I had evaluated, it was about twice as active in potency as mescaline, but so many different interactions. It was not the friendly closeness of mescaline. It was almost too aggressive, almost something you had to watch for. It revealed in me. It's not the compound that was doing it. It's me, what is being revealed from me by the compound. And again, the parallel, I mentioned the flower at some length with mescaline, is I had a very similar flower on the coffee table in Berkeley with this. And I was curious about the smell of what's inside, and I tore it apart. Look inside. Completely destroying the flower. But was completed in energy. I mean, obviously, this is my thing, how I want to look, I did it. So for a while, I said, why is one actually so precious that you can't destroy any part of nature, and the other you can just tear it apart because you're curious? Anyway, I made the third compound of the chain of 8 or 10 of them, not active at all, and it's a heck of the rest of them. So what else can we do with this molecule? That really got me started. If you can change the atom in the molecule, you can keep a kind of a psychoactive aspect of it. Change all the atoms. So look on, try this, try that, move over here. So I looked at this one, and the active I have written over here, 3, 4, 5. Mescaline is 3, 4, 5 trimethoxy. You dangle the thing by the ring, the aromatic ring on my right, so this way. And how the methoxy down there are 6 ways you can have 3 methoxys in the ring. You have 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 6, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, and what did I forgot? 2, 3, 6, actually. The one is all consumed because the one is for head from. I'm holding this little thing off the Christmas tree by the dingler, and I'm holding a number of pips on the hexagon. I was using the casting suit. So I made all 6 of them. So I have TMA 2, TMA 3, TMA 4, TMA 5, TMA 6. And of course, in diligence and a bit of attentiveness, assayed them all in about the same way, ran them all down. And the first one I did was the TMA 2, the one with the methoxys in the 2, 4, 5 positions. That's the amphetamine, up and down there. And that caught me off guard because I happened at that point still be an employee chemist at Dow up in Walnut Creek in Pittsburgh. And I went in, I was not feeling very comfortable. I went into a closet where they kept the things as they cleaned the floors. No one who worked there would go in there because that's the space. No down during the day, so I felt very not discoverable in there. And I found myself going into a very, I thought I had very carefully moved myself one small increment above the bacteria. Some activity maybe at 12, I went to 20. And 20 came on very heavy and very fast, and I was into a whole new territory that was totally scary. And so I was prejudiced against that for a while until I tried it more carefully later on. And it's about 10 times as potent as mescaline. It's a great increase in potency. And a lot of visuals. But a kind of a thing that didn't reveal a part of me that I cared that much about. But that's okay. Right then I was still counting potency rather than quality. Actually, both are very valid measures of activity. And so the TMA 3 was a 245, 2234, TMA 4, 225, TMA 5, 236. And the other one, the final one, where they're the opposite thing, the 246, was also potent and comparable to TMA 2. So TMA 2 and TMA 6 were the two in there that I found to be interesting and active and worth pursuing. The whole area from that point on, this is in the ethylamine world. What I did, I took that basic structure and began looking around it. But the TMA 6 structure allows fully a comparable degree of exploration, and I've never explored it. So if anyone really wants to look at chemistry and get whole area, start with the 246 instead of 245 and duplicate everything. You're going to find fascinating compounds and fascinating things. Different to make, some are more difficult, some are easier. I just haven't gotten around to that. That's the thing. I mean, you start walking out and take this path, that path, and you go past thousands of paths that go out from your path here on. None of them been explored. Who knows what's out there? You don't know. It's like going down the corridor of 55 doors. You go through a door, there's another corridor of 55 doors. What are the other doors that you don't know? There's something out there that's interesting. You have 55 lives, you find it out. But at the end, you pursue the one that happens to catch your fancy at the moment. And that's where I'm at. So, you have the methoxys out there. Well, methoxy, 2 methoxys make two oxygens, 2 oxygens of methylene dioxy. So if you take that same molecule, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or I like the 6 out there, I think I did. Yeah, down here. If you had to bridge two adjacent spots with the methylene dioxy, 2 oxygens tied together with a carbon, and then put methoxy on something that's left, you have 6 possibilities. So I call this MMDA, methylene dioxy methamphetamine, methoxyamphetamine. And the 6 is impossible. And I made the 5 that were obvious. The 6 I had no way of figuring out how to make. I tried a variety of things, never succeeded. I'm amused because they made the methylene dioxy, methoxyamphetamine, MMDA, methylene dioxyamphetamine, Schedule 1 drug by naming one of them, and saying that all positional isomers are also included under this definition. So although I can make 5, they only reported 1, but the total of 6 are in Schedule 1. And I'm a little bit amused. I checked before I came down here because I wasn't sure about the date. I looked up in Chem Abstracts for the 6 of them. No one's ever made it. It's never been made. It's twice in the literature, reported in the literature, but both because I wrote it as an interesting compound that has been made in a review article. So it's in the literature because I said it was interesting, but it has never been made. But in Chem Abstracts, it never has been made. But it's the person who first succeeds in making that has committed a felony. It's named as such, right in the law, even though it's never been made. These are humorous parts of the law. They're not trees. So 6 of those, made 5 of them, and the only one that interested was methylene dioxy in the 3-4 position. So my attention is being sucked out to that 3 and 4 position. As it turns out, I'm not going to go into full detail. Let's go through all the mucking around different ways, different combinations of things. The next general direction I went is I settled on the 2,4,5, which is 2-methoxy, 4,5-methoxy, or 2,4,5-trimethoxy. And I made each of the methoxy into an ethoxy. And ethoxy is the best group of oxygen. Ethoxy is 2 carbons out of oxygen. So in essence, if you have 2,4,5-trimethoxy, you can have 2 ethoxy 4,5-dimethoxy, 4 ethoxy 2,5-dimethoxy, 5 ethoxy 2,4-dimethoxy, 2,4-diethoxy 4-methoxy, 2,5-diethoxy 4-methoxy, or 4,5-diethoxy 2-methoxy, or tetraethoxy, or diethoxy. So they know. In the lab, I might have let me wrong, but I did. The only one that showed instant activity was the 4-ethoxy. So this is a little bell of the line. Something about that 4 position has got a little bit of sparkle to it. And it's a point where nature, I guess I'm natural, so I'm doing natural things. So this is the point which I'm going to begin if I get mutations going on or changes in the way I do things. This is where I'm going to focus a little bit. So I did. I made this 2,4,5-trimethoxy. I said, if the 4th position is so fancy, here's a situation where you can't lose. If you were to take that methoxy, I think the methoxy came off because I kept keep collecting urine and doing analyses and the methoxy disappeared. I'd like to know what happened to it in me, because sometimes you get into things in which the compound doesn't do something, and the compound goes into you and it's changed to something, and what it's changed to is what does things to you. So sometimes metabolites are the things that are the active pursuit. It's a whole other chapter of this talk, but okay. Anyway, so I said to myself, if that 4th methoxy group is the active thing, and it kind of comes off easily, let's say, it becomes a phenol and it's conjugated with some glucuron gases or something, gets secreted in urine. Let's put something on that group that can't come off easily. So I said, why not instead of a methoxy, put a methyl on there? Now, methyl can't hydrolyze off. You can oxidize with acid, it can do all kinds of things, but it cannot hydrolyze off. So I put a methyl group in there and I said, you've got a case here where if the compound turns out to like the receptor site somewhere in the brain, there's something that these things go and plug in and do things. If it likes that receptor site, it's going to go to that receptor site. It's going to go into the receptor site, and one of two things. Either it is going to be an active psychedelic, and it's going to be an insulin because it can't hydrolyze into something that's inactive, so it might be a really potent thing. Or it might go in and be inactive. And if it's inactive, but it goes to the receptor site and the psychedelic drug sickle,
Oh,
and it's inactive.
God.
If there's something endogenous in the person that makes the person
I
want,
understand that
that's
for some
stronger.
reason.
And second,
Idiot for the
schizophrenic. I use the word
Oh.
guilty. I have been frequently asked to speak more slowly. And I will do my best to accede to that request. It's good for about 40 seconds. I'll try. If it were to go into the receptor site and block the receptor site from some indigenous factor in there that makes a person schizophrenic, you have a cure for mental illness. You can't lose. It's either going to be a potent psychedelic or it's going to be a for people who are a little bit schizophrenic. Not schizophrenic. Oh, I gave a ran around at Harvard. I used the word schizophrenic for psychiatry. It's not a great little thing to do. And I got chewed out for that after. Schizophrenic is the word I'm sorry. That's what. Talking about people who are schizophrenic. And there are, this is the side. I don't have a time. Who's he still on? That's a boy, that's a compliment. That we had at Donner Labs about 25 years ago, an opportunity to work with schizophrenic patients for the medicine.
Alright, so that brightens the whole figure up considerably. I like that, and I'll probably go back and rework that with a slightly lighter blue, and then a white for the final layer of highlights on her skin tones. At least getting that blocked in and set up more firmly before I start detailing the small scenes and figures. So, zoom in. You can see some of those brush strokes developing. That's a pretty subtle color shift, but it adds more dimension to her.
Five normals, a little tricky to find them in Lawrence classes we found them. And five each of them a certain day, certain circumstances, enough radioactive S-methylmethionine to see it in the brain. And we ended up with 10 photographs. We put them on the wall.
So this one's starting to develop. I'm digging it.
And there are pictures of the brain with this radioactive thing in there, and everyone was different. Everyone was different.
But it's got a long ways to go.
Some had right here, some right there, some lines, some hips, what have you. And
Get on some of the detail there. Anyone that might be new to this picture. Still need to shadow everything in the small scenes. Go back and do all the flesh tones for the little figures. And in the sky, gradients going from light spiraling to medium spiraling to darker gold and to gray gold as it gets to the edges.
And he was in there, and as soon as Freddie came in, yeah, he goes, those are pictures you took of us. Well, but what picture of you? Oh, that's me. They pointed this photograph.
Alright, but that's it for the moment. So, hope everyone's evening is well. That's Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting nurture.